All right, good evening, travelers. It's the OCD Traveler, and today I'm talking about your and my favorite resort, Grand Residences in Riviera Cancun, Puerto Morelos, about just south of Cancun. So, why? I guess why would be the great question. Look, I'm passionate about Grand Residences, so I thought that I would jump on here today live and talk about it a little bit. Answering questions, look, I don't have a big audience, so I'm completely expecting no one to be online with us. But that said, I've got 5 questions that have been asked of family, friends, of viewers, so I'll dive into the top 5 that I have. But here's what I would ask. First and foremost, as always, hit like and subscribe. It certainly helps the channel. And then if you have questions as a follow-up, I'm happy to do more of these. If anybody jumps in live, I'm going to encourage them to drop anything, any questions that they have in the chat. And then, yeah, I can follow up in the future. So put comments down. You can obviously find this in the future, but put comments down, put questions. What would you like to know about Grand Residences? So I've been there either 8 or 9 times. I honestly don't know how many times at this point in my life. It's one of those two, 8 or 9, and we just scheduled to go back in October, my wife and I, for our anniversary yet again. So we're owners. We've been owners since 2022, I believe, so almost 2 years. And yeah, just love it. So I wanted to talk about some of those questions. If you see me drinking today, this is coffee for my Texas drinkers. This is coffee from H-E-B. We love their Houston blend, which we can't get shipped up to Michigan, so we find it any way that we can, which is largely Amazon or folks that live in Texas. So cheers. Wish it were a Corona on the beach, but it is cold, probably 28 degrees up in Michigan. I'm in the west side of the state of Michigan. That's where I'm from. But let's kind of dive in here slowly but surely, shall we? So I'm going to start with the number 1 question that I get from folks, and that is, look, is it safe? Is Mexico safe? Is Grand Residences safe? So let's start with Mexico. Obviously, Mexico is a very large country, and there are regions that are going to be challenged from a drug cartel standpoint. It is my belief that Cancun is not one of those places. This is something my wife and I took very seriously. Before we took our kids, who were little at the time, back in 2013, that was kind of the first time we went to Mexico. And it's a question we asked ourselves repeatedly, but we always feel safe at Grand Residences. So, why? So, relatively small resort area. We'll talk about where it is a little bit later, but relatively small resort area. Even still, on spring break, we saw it being guarded or monitored, the beach, by what I would assume were federales, so individuals on ATVs driving the beach with weapons just to make sure that nothing bad was happening. And what I will say is, even when there's shootings in Cancun, generally speaking, it's tourists that cause that. So I remember there was a big shooting in Playa del Carmen maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and they said what happened is 2 folks that were staying at the resort bought drugs from rival factions. So 2 different cartels, and they came in, saw each other, and had a shootout. A gentleman was shot in the leg in Puerto Morelos, which is 3 miles away from Grand Residences, 2 or 3 years ago. But he was by himself after midnight, presumably doing something he shouldn't be doing, walking around in the city. I think he was inebriated, probably looking for a little smoke or something, and something went wrong and he got shot. That is the anomaly. It is extremely safe. Grand Residences itself is a very small contained unit and has excellent security. So I don't think that's anything that you have to be worried about. 2 other things I want to say about their security team. I have twice left my safe, my in-room safe, open in the room. Pretty big. Housekeeping saw it, and I had a stack of cash. I take a lot of American money with me to tip. That's my preference. I know some people take pesos, but talking $400 or $500, watches, rings, a laptop in the safe. And each time the security comes up, validates from the housekeeping service that the safe was open, they lock it, and they will not reopen it until the guest is back in the room with security. That's happened to me twice, never missing anything. The other thing I would share is I've twice left things behind. A pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses. An hour later, I remembered that I lost them. Security guard had them, was waiting for me. Another time, I left a bag on the back of my chair. Probably had the welcome drink or 2 at Heaven Bar. It's the beachfront bar there. Had some lunch. Left my bag with all of our passports, all of our cash in it, hanging on the back of a chair. Went back 30 minutes later, everything was exactly where it should have been. So from an overall cartel activity, crime standpoint, the staff, I don't think you have to worry about safety or security whatsoever. So is it safe? My answer to that question is absolutely. So if you're nervous about going down there, don't be. It's one of the top travel destinations in the world, Cancun is. Something like 10 million folks visited it last year. You should be able to too. Just plan it out, know what you're expecting, and if you partake in things that aren't generally legal, don't partake down there. Sounds pretty reasonable, right? All right, question 2. So I get this one a lot. Let me bring this up a little bit. Is it a timeshare? So yes and no. Like, well, kind of. So Grand Residences started as a fractional ownership destination. So fractional ownership meaning this was the Tapa Royal Resorts chain, and they started selling these memberships. And when they sold them, you were buying a 100-year deeded access that was fully transferable when you died. 100 years for the same 2 weeks in a 2-bedroom kind of condo or suite in the same building, the same 2 weeks every year for 100 years. Fractional ownership. In that regime, they eventually said this is not sustainable. So most of their other properties, I think, were 30-year buys. And then after 30 years, they kind of tear it down to the guts and they'd rebuild it, resell it. This one's 100, and that was fractional ownership. They did move to points. So I'm a points owner. I would love to have fractional ownership. I don't know if that's ever going to be available again. But they do have points. So I get X amount of points. I can use it at Grand Residences. I can downgrade to some of their other resorts. But I'm staying at Grand Residence because I love it. But that is more of your traditional timeshare. Now, I think part of the reason people ask that question is that they don't want to be hassled about a timeshare. I went 5 times before I asked to see the presentation. And that's not hyperbole. I had to ask our concierge, hey, like, do you think we're broke or what? You're never going to try to get us to go to an ownership presentation? And then she finally did. And then I had it one more time. We didn't buy at that point in time. We bought a year later. But from that standpoint, it has never been one of these deals where you're harassed frequently. Holiday Inn Club Vacations has purchased it. That could change. I don't know. I mean, I went back under their ownership and had no problems whatsoever. No one was trying to sell me anything untoward. So I don't think that's going to be a concern. But look, times change. The one thing I wanted, so 2 things that could impact you. One positively, one neutral, maybe negative. First and foremost, if you go sit through a presentation, the one thing that they're going to do at the very end after you say no to everybody is sell you a discounted return back. So it's usually 4 or 5 people for a week in a master suite, all inclusive, for around $5,000. Go to a sales presentation just to get your little spiff, whatever that is, free massage. Go for that. And then say no to everything. And at the end, they generally offer that up. At least that's been our experience. And they're still doing it even under Holiday Inn. And then outside of that, the only thing you're going to notice from an owner perspective is those owners sometimes have more relationships with the staff. So sometimes they feel maybe a little bit more catered to. But these are folks that might go for 6, 8 weeks at a time because they bought multiple weeks. So they form bonds with the staff. And the staff has been retained for years and years and years. They're excellent. The other thing you will notice is as an owner, we can book our chairs. You book pool chairs. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. But you book pool chairs. Owners, we can do it for a week. We get blue towels. Non-owners can have to do it day by day. But here's the thing. Other resorts I went to before Grand Residences, my butt was waking up at 4 a.m. to go try to stake out chairs that were okay. Here, you're guaranteed your chair. You can mentally prepare for it a day in advance. That, to me, is not that big a deal. But that's the biggest thing. So, yeah, it is a timeshare. It has not been overwhelming. I do get a little bit nervous as to whether or not it's going to be, whether or not that's going to change a little bit under the new Holiday Inn Club Vacations regime, but that remains to be seen. All right, so let's talk about question 3. Where exactly is Grand Residences? So we talked about Puerto Morelos. That's like they call it a small fishing community. I, I think that's what it started as. I would assume 10 to 20,000 people live there. I should have looked it up, but it's 20 minutes south of the Cancun airport. So Cancun's going to have that main hotel zone, and then you have what, Isla Mujeres and Playa Mujeres, kind of the north side. As you come south, you'll have a little bit of expanse, Paraíso or something like that. There's some nice beaches, and then you get to Puerto Morelos, and this is going to be south of Puerto Morelos, and it's the very last resort in a chain of I think 3 or 4. So you've got El Cid is the big one. El Cid Marina is about half a mile away from Grand Residences. Then you have Dreams Jade. It used to be Now Jade. Dreams purchased it. And then you have Grand Residences. So again, about 3 miles south of the city of Puerto Morelos. This would be the very north part of what I would call Riviera Maya. It's kind of halfway between Cancun and Playa del Carmen. So 20 minutes if you're going to Grand Residence. Luxury transportation there, private transportation is included, there and back. Super easy drive. We've been to places like Puerto Aventuras, like an hour 20 away. This is nice and close, super easy. You don't have to leave 3 hours early to get to the airport. So yeah, super great location, nice stretch of beach. It is impacted by sargassum. If you don't know what sargassum is, tell me in the comments. I can talk a little bit more about that. You'll see some, but when the sargassum blooms, you're going to see it all along that part of Mexico. But 20 minutes south of the airport, probably half an hour, 45 minutes south of the hotel zone, and halfway between Cancun and Playa del Carmen. And they call it Riviera Cancun. I think that's really rarely used. Really, it's that real north edge of Riviera Maya, but a great place to go, great beach. And then because Grand Residence is last, I think that land is protected beyond there. So there's no through traffic, super safe. You can walk to Puerto Morelos if you want to. It would be a long walk. Grand Residence does some like bike tours, so you can bike to the city. But yeah, it's a great spot. And Puerto Morelos, we've never eaten there. We always have their all-inclusive package at Grand Residence. But I've heard great things. Like we'll go down there and trinket shop. Has everything you could really want, grocery stores. But yeah, it's in a great area. Highly recommend Puerto Morelos as a destination or a side trip. All right, is that actually my room? So I asked myself the same question the first time we went. I booked this, and the price at the time was the same as a pretty junky Iberostar, for example. And I kept seeing these pictures, and I'm like, this room is absolutely stunning. Is that really the room I'm going to get? So being kind of the pessimistic guy can sometimes be cynical guy maybe. I didn't think we were going to get this 1,300 square foot room, but we sure did. And 10 years later, it's still as gorgeous as it was the first time we went. What can I tell you about this? You come in, crazy closet space even for people that are visiting, a huge gourmet kitchen. We're talking sub-zero refrigerator, high-end appliances, everything you could possibly need to make your own food if that's your thing. There's a washing machine. It's in Spanish. I've never used it. I think it's a washer-dryer combo in a little laundry room. There's a very large dining table that can seat 8 to 10 folks. So if you get room service, they'll actually make up that table. There's a nice couch, 2 chairs, and a love seat. Very large TV, Bose surround sound, Apple TV. To the left and right of the TV are pull-down Murphy beds. That's where your children would sit, or sleep rather. And then a powder room, so not a full bath, but a powder room right off the entry door. And then as you get into the master suite, like the master suite is awesome. Very comfortable king-size bed, which can be a rarity in Mexico. We have slept on what felt like concrete, where we literally were using towels as padding. But you're not going to worry about that there. So king-size bed. To the side of the king-size bed will be one more Murphy bed if you have like a toddler that you want really close by. There's a desk. There's another TV. There's Jack and Jill closets, which are massive walk-in closets, one with a safe. Each have robes. You've got slippers there that they'll provide. And then you have a Jack and Jill vanity, the best shower in the world, the water you can drink while you're brushing your teeth, but they'll still leave you bottled water. If you want to see more, I encourage you to hit like and subscribe. Subscribe to the channel. If you go and you'll see a video I made that says the best resort rooms in Mexico. Check that out. It'll give you a walkthrough, but that is actually your room, and it is actually as awesome as it looks. So I love it. I highly encourage you to check it out. Let's see. So that's your room. Oh, the one caveat I should provide is they do have junior suites. The junior suite is going to look a lot more like a standard hotel room. And it gets crazy. When you walk into these room sets, there's a foyer. So you're going to scan through double doors. You're going to go into this very large foyer. Again, this is going to be in the room tour video. Once you're in, on one side will be a master suite. On the other side will be a junior suite. And if you get a 2-bedroom unit, that's what you're doing. You just keep those doors open, and then you can flow through the foyer, and a 1-bedroom master suite becomes a 2-bedroom. But yeah, if you're booking at the lower price point, which is going to be a maximum of 3 adults, you'll get that junior suite if you don't pay for a master suite. That's going to look a little bit more like a standard hotel room. I've actually never, I had friends that were in one time. I've never stayed in those, but it's still a very nice room. So if it's good from a cost perspective, check it out. But yeah, that is your room, and you will love it. And the dangerous part is once you're in there, you really don't want to go to another resort. I mean, 2 whirlpool tubs, great furniture on a huge balcony. It's awesome. I got to book another trip there just so I can stop talking about it and start doing it. All right, let's see, the food. So a couple of pictures I put together here. How's the food? The food's stellar. A couple of things I'll just point out on this particular slide. Well, you can't see anything, but I wanted to point this out. In the upper left-hand corner, you're going to see their espresso. Like their espresso when it comes out is going to have mineral water, chocolate, the zest of a lemon and a lime. Supposed to really accentuate the flavor of the espresso, and then a chocolate finisher. Like it's high end. And then at the bottom there's their steak Diane. They used to have a slab of foie gras on it. I know that's not a very ethical piece of meat, but it was delicious when they had it. Super rich on top of a fillet. The food is really stellar, and to me differentiates Grand Residence from a lot of other resorts, because this is not an all-inclusive resort. It's this fractional ownership type of property that has food, menu service food, that you can order a la carte if you don't have their all-in package. There's a concept of a last meal, and what I mean by that is, unfortunately, individuals that are on death row, decide what they want as their last meal. If I were ever in that situation, my last meals would be breakfast at El Faro Grill. It's stellar. It's a buffet. You can order off the menu. I get a dish called eggs motelinos. There's a lady there hand pressing tortillas to make quesadillas. A entire spread. It's wonderful. And my second favorite meal, again, that's my favorite breakfast in the world. Favorite lunch, Heaven Beach Grill. I mean, that beach bar has shrimp tacos that are stellar. It's got a pepita salad that I love with grilled chicken. What else? They've got a tuna served on kind of wontons. Like, I don't think it's seared. I think it's actually raw. It's stellar. Their food there is excellent. Now, once you get to dinner, El Faro used to be stellar. I think that's kind of moderated a little bit. It's okay. You'll have hits and misses as far as food. And then that's going to be continental type cuisine. Still very good. And by AI standards, by all-inclusive standards, it's stellar. But yeah, dinner to me is kind of where it hits the skids. Florida Canal, the Mexican restaurant next door, used to be pretty mediocre, and that is now a little bit more excellent. But breads, soups, little things like dropping pieces of lime or orange and cucumber into your water, just stellar. They used to do a coconut souffle. They didn't have it the last time we were there, which is disappointing, but the food can be really remarkable. There is room service as well. Room service is very good for breakfast. And then outside of that, it's kind of mediocre. So it's really a matter of, have you had enough? Do you not want to go get dressed up for dinner that day? Long wait. Sometimes comes cold. Food's a little mediocre. We've had stuff that was way overcooked, way undercooked. But from an all-inclusive standpoint, to even have room service is great. And then two people will come out, make up your table, and you'll have this beautiful presentation for dinner. So it is really good stuff. But yeah, from a food standpoint, look, I don't think you're going to find much better food. Best breakfast in the world to me. Lunch as well. Love it. Dinner, so-so. And then, again, put something in the comments if you want me to talk more about this. But don't even think about doing an a la carte if you can purchase the all-inclusive package, because this is a deluxe resort and the prices they charge are relatively deluxe, and you will notice it. All right, everybody. Well, those are the questions that I have. I've got a couple of viewers on, but I'm not seeing any questions that are out there. So let me know if this is helpful. Tell me in the comments below. Any questions you have about Grand Residences, please let me know that as well. I'd be happy to answer them. Again, this is my happy place. I love it there. There's been times where we've been in February and April of the same year. We did that actually 2 different times, and then we bought. So I hate everything, and I put a lot of money on the line to make sure that I could and would continue to keep going to Grand Residences, so I want to help you out. So again, like and subscribe. Tell me in the comment sections if you have questions or if this was helpful. But in the meantime, I am the OCD Traveler, reminding you to plan,